Okay, everybody, here we are. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. The closing bell literally just went off. I have a lot I want to talk about with you to try to gain a perspective on where we are. And more importantly, are we at a tipping point with regard to our economy becoming real, the stock market becoming real? Again, this is all an illusion. And it's the same story that we're watching unfold that we have seen over and over again. So this is no different, other than the fact that this is more distorted than every single market we have ever seen, bar none, period, the end. Now, let's talk about the basics. What happened? At the low, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 599 points. We finished down around 492, however it's settling. Literally, the closing bell just went off. What else is going on here? Epic buying with regard to debt. The 10-year yield plunged. Cryptocurrency is about flat. Gold and silver caught a nice bid today. The dollar actually got weaker. That is interesting in an environment like this where you have the classic safety trade, cash flooding into the debt market, buy the debt, still thought of as a safe haven. It's insane, but it's true. So we need to consider what that actually might mean in the grand scheme of things. Now, let's talk about what's driving a lot of this. We understand that we've been getting round after freaking round after freaking round of bad economic news. Nothing good has come down the pike in a very long time. And that bad economic news has been driving stocks higher because the market realizes that the Fed has no choice but to step in. It's not even that they have no choice. The Fed wants to do this. I'll expand on that in a minute. But without the Fed intervening and literally becoming the buyer and lender of last resort, well, this is going to get real. It's going to get real no matter what, and I mean real. Now, let's back up to this weekend. When I did my Markets A Look Ahead segment, I explained to you that the setup was pretty simple. It looked like stocks were going to move higher going into the week, and that's exactly what did happen. We had a rally on Monday. Tuesday, stocks began the day with a triple-digit gain, which reversed on what? Abysmal economic news, and it just keeps getting worse. I also explained to you that crude oil, the lifeblood of the military-industrial complex, would get propped up one way or the other. Well, they attempted that over the weekend too. We had OPEC jawboning, saying, "Oh, we're gonna cut production." Crude oil went up, and then again it fell. Why? Because demand is falling off of a cliff. We are not just slowing down on a worldwide level. We're going to face a worldwide global depression. That's what we're looking at here. Now, let's move forward a little bit. Part of the abysmal economic news that we've gotten as of late is business spending. Business spending has cratered. What does that mean? If businesses are not growing, well, they're going to be cutting back on, obviously, spending, on employing more people, and they're going to start laying people off. We're already seeing this. Businesses are closing all over the place. But again, the fake U3 unemployment number keeps getting thrown at you. You must believe the U3. You must believe the U3. It's an incredible situation, but this is how the ruling class, again, keeps the people programmed by throwing this at them. Now, what else is going on? So we have business spending falling over the cliff. We already know what happened to manufacturing. I mean, this is the biggest piece of abysmal economic news that we've had in quite a long time, a one-decade low. So we also know this, and this was part of what we got last week, consumer spending, which drives the U.S. economy. People are not spending, and why? Because the cost of the tariffs are being passed on to the consumer. You know this if you shop, and prices are rising. So what do people tend to do in this environment? It's a no-brainer. They start cutting back on spending. So what else bleeds off out of this? You got businesses whose margins are hurting, whose obviously PE ratios cannot be sustained, just like the video I explained this morning, and their earnings per share start to drop. So again, going back to the video I did this morning, that's why these multiples cannot be sustained. Now, let's talk about something else that is underlying this entire thing. We know that the Fed is already embarked on this repo scheme, at least $75 billion a day pumped into the market to try to keep the short end under control, the short end of the yield curve. We understand that the Federal Reserve is also pumping at least $30 billion a day into buying longer-term debt. We understand that the Federal Reserve is about to cut rates again moving forward. A series of cuts are coming. We understand that dollar devaluation is coming. Maybe that's why the dollar isn't getting that knee-jerk here. Again, our president keeps talking about it, keeps expressing how the dollar is too strong, the dollar is too strong, the dollar is too strong. Well, why doesn't he explain to you that a stronger dollar is very good for the middle class, for people that are buying things, because, again, you retain your purchasing power. All he's concerned about is the military-industrial complex, supporting corporate America. Absolutely. A weaker dollar is profoundly good for the military-industrial complex, for the corporations, for corporate America. These multinational corporations, my God, they thrive on the weak dollar. That's why they want a weak dollar. That's why they lobby him. That's what they're saying. Mr. President, start talking about dollar intervention. And he keeps talking about it. He keeps explaining how the Federal Reserve is keeping the dollar too strong. He explains how the Federal Reserve is not cutting rates fast enough. Again, he has not yet explained to you how it will help. It won't help. It will devastate you more so than the situation you're already in. Rising prices already here. This is why consumers are not spending. We have business spending, again, spending falling off the cliff. This is not a good environment, however you want to look at it. So, going back to the Federal Reserve, I believe sincerely that the law of diminishing returns applies here. Again, this environment it's a multiple bubble environment, and every bubble is being sustained by the next one. When one pops, it's going to take the rest of them down with it. Boom, 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 boom. There are inverse bubbles as well. Precious metals, you know that. I think cryptocurrencies are in an inverse bubble right now. I believe cryptocurrency prices are being suppressed. That's the truth. They're not widely traded. So it doesn't take much effort, let's say from a big Wall Street bank, to suppress and rig the price action. This is why. And I explained this to you at the time, before it even happened. Wall Street wanted to get their hands on Bitcoin futures. Yeah. It's a rigged market as well. But all this is going to become very real very, very quickly. Let's talk about a few other things here. What are we not seeing? Going back to business spending falling off the cliff. Now, I've explained to you that we've had a series of truly epic lies right out of the White House, right out of the mouth of the President of the United States. He promised us all that if we would allow these multinational corporations to repatriate their cash here to the United States, that they would spend it on business spending, building their businesses, and hiring. I explained to you at the time when it was coming out of his mouth that it was a lie. And I explained to you that it would not happen. I explained to you that these companies were going to buy back shares of their own stock with it. Well, that's exactly what did happen. But what has stopped? Well, I'm going to give you one guess. They're running out of bullets. All of this cash that was repatriated here on the promise by our president, another epic lie, right up there with everyone else. And people bought it. Millions of people, millions of Trump supporters, I was a Trump supporter at the time, bought it, except I knew this was a lie. All you needed was a fraction of a functioning brain cell to just fire, to tell you that it was not going to be the truth. It was a setup. Now, these corporations have cut back dramatically on buying back shares of their own stock. They need to raise capital in this environment. It should be so obvious to you. So anyway, just to summarize real quick, stocks right now, the market cannot maintain its multiples. That should be obvious to you. We have consumer spending falling off a cliff, business spending falling off of a cliff, repurchasing programs, stocks falling off of a cliff. So that should tell you where the market is likely going to go. Now, with regard to you personally, you can expect dollar intervention, prices to continue to rise on the back of the tariffs that you're paying for. China's not paying for them. Understand, you know how this works if you have any kind of an understanding. The tariffs are paid by the importers and the exporters, and they're passed on to you. That's how it works. That's why consumers are cutting back on spending. That should also explain to you where we're going. If people are not spending like they were, and our economy is driven by consumer spending, our economy is in shambles. It could not be worse off. And the president today, during a little talk, he was explaining he said in these words again, our economy is booming and everybody wants to go here. This is a complete falsehood. He's trying to convince you once again of the lie. He must maintain the lie. He must support the military-industrial complex. Understand, that's all he works for. The president does not work for you. The president works for the military-industrial complex, and every effort to keep the military-industrial complex robbing you blind will be instituted. Hence, all of his calls for a weaker dollar. It does not help you. It helps the multinational corporations, the military-industrial complex. Wake up. All right? So, with regard to, again, the law of diminishing returns, the Federal Reserve is about to go absolutely freaking nuclear. And that is their goal. The goal of every single world central bank is very simple: to own the world, to dictate your way of life, to force you to transact in their currencies. This is the truth, okay? It's not a science fiction movie. The more debt that these world central banks issue, the stronger they become, not weaker. The more of a slave you become. That's the truth. This is why you have here in the United States, Washington, in bed or becoming one and the same with the Fed. The banks run the world. Who sits in the pretty White House or whatever comes out of their mouth is only to benefit the banks, the one percenters, the military-industrial complex. You don't matter. We need a revolution in this country. We really do. We're not going to get one because the people have been dumbed down sufficiently enough that if they were to watch this video along with you, they would be dumbfounded. They wouldn't know what to do, whether to go blind or run to the toilet. Seriously, they would have no idea. And this is, again, done by design. So that's really it. That's where we are. So we have to understand with regard to being at a tipping point. Well, the law of diminishing returns applies here. We have consumer spending cratering, business spending cratering, stock buybacks cratering, an unimaginable explosion of debts and deficits. That's the only thing keeping this afloat. That's it. The end result is going to be very simple. A global population much less than it is right now, more easily controlled. Okay, this is already being set up here. A two-tier society, the extreme haves and extreme have-nots. The middle class is being eliminated. So if you are part of the middle class, you are targeted. You have a target on your back. Your children have that target on their back. And very shortly, when this whole thing does manifest itself, you yourself may no longer exist. In the literal sense, you are being eliminated. I explained to you yesterday the 3 enemies of man. You know what they are if you followed the video that I did yesterday, but I outlined real quick. Ignorance, fanaticism, and tyranny. Ignorance seeks to silence you. Fanaticism strikes at your convictions, your beliefs, and then the final blow is tyranny. They rule with an iron fist, and they will take you out. This has been going on for centuries, how the ruling class, how the few control the masses. We have the power to do something about it, but again, the dumbing down is complete. They have won. There is no way out of it. And again, everything you're seeing is by design. Don't think for a second that this multi-decade plan, longer than that, is about to be derailed by anyone. Ain't happening. They won, we lose. However, we, by understanding the situation, can try at least to make it work. Or you could lay down and just take it. I choose to fight. And that's what I hope you are trying to do as well. Resist. Resist. All right, with that said, people, I really do love all of you. And I want to thank more of you. I got 83 people. And honestly, I know some of you go, oh my God, only 83 people donated to you or are supporting this blog out of the nearly 100,000 that follow this blog here. But you know what? That number may not seem significant to you. But to me, it's humongous. 83 people went out of their way to support my work. And you know something? I love all of you. I really do. Even those of you that have not supported for whatever reason, you support my blog by sharing it. That's good too. But believe me, your generosity and your support did not go unnoticed by me. And again, I could not be more thankful. Please share this video. Did anything I say here make sense to you? I will read the comments. Or is Greg completely out of his mind? Let me know. See you in the morning.